welcome to our special show, Breaking Bad Debt. On Friday, the government brought RBI to the center stage of the bad loan resolution effort. It passed an ordinance which empowers RBI to direct banks to send companies to insolvency courts. It also authorizes RBI to direct banks on resolving stressed assets. And third, it empowers RBI to appoint committees which may advise banks on how to resolve bad assets. So, what exactly should we expect from RBI here on? Will it be an all-powerful committee of arbitrators and technocrats going into the top 50 cases and advising resolution or insolvency? Or will the new committees be just a scaled-up version of the current oversight committee appointed by the Indian Banks Association? Will RBI be in danger of taking commercial decisions, or can it manage an institutional setup at arm's length? Well, to answer all these questions, I am being joined by Usha Thorat, former Deputy Governor of the Reserve Bank of India, G. Padmanabhan, former ED of RBI, Behram Vakil, who is a legal expert, part author of the Bankruptcy Code, also partner at AZB, and Mr. Rakesh Sharma, CEO and Managing Director of Canara Bank. Well, gentlemen and lady, welcome to the show. Let me first start with the Managing Director of Canara Bank, just so that the banker has his say. Mr. Sharma, what do you think the RBI should do? Should it have a committee like, the IBA's overseeing committee, which only looks at the process? Or should it have a powerful committee of arbitrators and technocrats which goes into, say, the top 30 cases and thoroughly advises how they should be resolved?
Actually, in case of restructuring, already there is a process that techno-economic viability study is there, and then, they engage some consultants also, like SBI CAP is there, and some other advising companies are there. And I think the banks are, this is my personal opinion, the banks are in a better position to handle such cases. They know all such cases. So the initiative should be taken by the bank, and the decision should be made faster. And now, as RBI has come out with the new instructions that as against earlier 75% by value, 60% by number, now they have made it 60 and 50. So this will help us in speeding up the proposal. So the bankers, they should be proactive, and we will be proactive in taking the decision. The committee should be at the overseeing level, as it is like this. Now suppose if the committee is made for what is to be done, so they will see things, in my opinion, from de novo. And they will start studying the cases, and though they are experts, but still they will have to see the cases from the new angle. So I think the bankers are equipped, and we should take the only thing is decision has to happen faster.
Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Sharma, for the banker's point of view. Mr. Padmanabhan, you are, in a sense, from the banker's point of view, but also from a central banker's point of view. What is your sense? If you are only going to have a scaled-up version of the current IBA committee of Janaki Vallabh and Pradeep Kumar, would you need an ordinance? I mean, would things be radically different? How would you imagine RBI should go about this job?
See, first of all, I think it'll be slightly more than just a scaled-up version of the oversight committee, because the number of accounts that they have to deal with and the timelines. Now, one of the issues which was flagged as to why this was necessary was the entire process was taking too long for comfort. Yeah. So if this whole process is to be speeded up, then the machinery will have to be much larger than what is currently available. Okay. Having said that, I think the important point which MD Canara Bank also made was that there is no question of this entire process starting de novo. Already much work has been done in this regard. And I would still think that how Reserve Bank of India should go about, or hopefully would go about, would be they would be doing the role of a facilitator. Okay. Because different banks pull in different directions and they have different priorities. Now the purpose of this Reserve Bank getting into the picture and making sure that these things happen speedier, faster, more professionally, that I think should be the way the whole process should be taken forward.
Okay. Well, I'm still not very clear, what the committee should do. Mrs. Thorat, what's your sense? Viral Acharya in that speech, which perhaps has underpinned the government's ordinance, actually asks that I think the top 50 cases should be, the banks get a deadline that it's, you finish it off or it goes into insolvency. Now, for that, if all the 50 cases are considered that way, each case is a different case. Some of them are gas-based power, where, they just have to go for scrap. Then there are steel companies with varying degrees of problem and viability. Can the committee, take just a decision, okay, dissolve all this 50 or go to insolvency?
Yeah, I think let's start with the point that this is an issue which sort of concerns financial stability. So it's really an issue which needs to be dealt with at a very emergency level because it threatens the financial stability of the system. And from that angle, giving the role to Reserve Bank to get into individual cases clearly goes against its regulatory and supervisory role. So there is a definite issue over there. But having said that, RBI is also responsible for financial stability, and I think therefore I feel the role has to be such that it kind of provides an umbrella for decision making, which can be, even in retrospect, looked at and said it's okay. But we must recognize that all these problems have come. The entire slowing down of the process of decision making is each bank, of course, is pulling in their own direction, but also because there is a fear. So there is a fear of vigilance, there is a fear of CBI, and I think that has to be squarely addressed. Because without that being addressed, if people started questioning the process of this committee, then I think nobody will be really willing to put their neck into it and take the drastic decisions. So on one side,
the committee should single out some cases and
I would say they have to be at two levels is what I would visualize it. One has to be at a kind of an apex level which sort of draws the boundaries. Maybe the boundaries are to say that cases should not have an overall haircut beyond this. Or what would be the definition of sustainability or viability? What kind of periods you're talking about? Maybe sector-wise you're looking at a period which you're looking at viability, which could be different for different sectors. Maybe you look at discounting rates, because the earlier round of restructuring, we found that each package was drawn up and you had projected cash flows and everything was hunky-dory.
Okay. So basically you're looking at two or three. First you're saying that you should look at forward cash of maybe 1 or 2 or 3 years. Whatever it is, the committee lays that down. It lays down how much of sustainable debt. If it is 50% or 60% is unsustainable, if more than 60% is unsustainable, then straight away go to insolvency. Something like that.
Well, I would say a little bit not so specific. It has to lay out some overarching principles on the basis of which oversight committee can take a view. Then I would say the oversight committees below that would then review the cases which have already banks have done. And if they've reached a certain level, and they have to take that critical decision, there they facilitate the decision by the expert committee. And they don't have to do de novo the whole thing.
Okay. You were saying, Mr. Padmanabhan?
No, I was adding that this is the criticality. I don't think we can have one uniform time limit for if you don't resolve by then go through the formal process of resolution. Each case is different, as Mrs. Thorat was pointing out. Each case is different. Now, each sector is different. There could be sectors where you don't get buyers. So how do you resolve those cases? So I think laying down the ground rules, the committee and the Reserve Bank will have to take more time so that it becomes qualitative rather than a mere quantitative approach of one size fitting all. It just won't work.
Now let me get Mr. Vakil in here. Behram, if a committee had to take all this into cognizance, first, how would you staff it? Should it be commercial bankers? Should it be arbitrators? Should it be lawyers? How will you staff a committee like this?
No, I think, thanks a lot, Latha. I think, not arbitrators really, at least not in the legal sense, but you would have to staff it with the obvious experts. So, of course, bankers, you may have some accountants, restructuring experts, in a self-serving way, let me say, lawyers as well should be included. So, I think it will be a bunch of experts. But if I could quickly say, what Mrs. Thorat and Mr. Padmanabhan said, I think the key words Mr. Padmanabhan used was facilitation and expedition, because I think that's the problem, that it has not moved perhaps as speedily as the government was hoping for, though I think in 3 months it's made substantial progress. And as Mrs. Thorat mentioned, there is a very real fear of CVC, CBI. So I think the crucial thing this ordinance brings is another layer of comfort, that having such a committee, which I don't believe that, you can really get into any kind of nitty-gritty or commercials.
Okay.
It would have to be very broad principles, and keeping the power analogy, it's not that do we need solar, do we need wind, we need all. So all the solutions that we have, all the tools that we have, and this is just, IBC is one of the key new tools. So let's get that going. Let the banks, of course, are the best judges of this. Let them decide. But if after what they've done, give a kind of time limit, because time is of essence, and if after that they have not come to a good solution, then you should let it go for IBC, and IBC still includes a lot of commercial flexibility.
Okay. Well, I take your point. Going de novo into all cases will be tough. Let's do one thing. Take a break. We will come back and get from our three experts, and if we can once again get to the Canara Bank Managing Director, exactly how these committees need to go about their job. What should the overarching committee do? What should the subcommittees do? Should there be several committees? All those questions in a minute after this break.